total ritual here. Always the same. I'm hoping they're not going to go crazy right now. Hello. Apparently, they might. Anyway, I don't know if I should get started or not, but I think they have avoided complete disaster. It looks like a complete disaster so far has been avoided. Anyway, it is, oh jeez, it is, okay, it is Sunday. Oh no, no. Hello. Maybe things are going to calm down now. Anyway, it is Sunday. Today is January 13th, 2019, and this is important. I want to remember this day because I was baptized for the second time, actually, today. The first time I was really little, so I can't really remember. All I remember is the basin, marble basin. I do remember that, but anyway, today there was the wonderful opportunity on VatiTube to renew the vows. Actually, probably a lot more meaningful than the first time around because I didn't really have a choice in the matter. Wasn't like one knew exactly what was going on. So this time, much more aware of what was going on, obviously, and quite aware of the vows that went along with this, and that was especially significant, actually, because I've also taken Buddhist vows, and it's a very meaningful thing to do. On a very, very private level, it if you mean it, it informs the way that you live your life, and it informs it informs the decisions that you make, and actually gives you something to sort of use as a signpost, especially in times where it's quite unclear what might be the best thing to do. And sometimes we want to do things that might not be the best thing to do. And to kind of go back to whatever guidelines you set up for yourself is useful when making certain decisions. And that's maybe guidelines, yeah, vows, guidelines. I think the difference there is that with vows there is a formal aspect to it. Again, if you really mean it, that it adds a little bit more gravitas to the whole thing. And as far as I can tell, or as far as I've experienced at least, I made my Buddhist vows something like more than 10 years ago. And I can't say that I've been able to live up to them all the time. But I've been aware of when I wasn't. And I think that too adds meaning, because you know what you're doing. I think very important to always be aware of what you're doing, and to not just be kind of, I guess, tossed about or carried along some kind of a river without paying any kind of attention, which can happen so easily. It's really, really easy to make one decision after another, and it's leading you in a direction and you never actually thought about what you were doing. And why did I get here? And then in hindsight, you look back and you go, oh, that didn't work out so well, now did it? So I think vows and things like that are not just important on a spiritual level or in solidifying faith, but they're a tool that you can use in life, whether that would be personally or professionally, whatever it might be, or in decision making. Like I have this, I have my Buddhist, no, not Buddhist, sorry. I have my Catholic confession app, which is brilliant because because the confession is no good unless you do the thing with a priest. So of course there's no priest, but that's why you have the app. But it's funny anyway. But there are questions in this app that you can ask yourself, whether you've broken any of the commandments, or whether you've done this or that or the other. And one of them even has to do with politics. So it applies into every aspect, potentially, of your life, depending how serious you are about this. And I personally like things that are serious. I am not a person who is frivolous. Or what's the word? It's not spontaneous. Spontaneous is good, but there's another word like spontaneous, but it's not such a good thing where you become careless in doing something that's not a good idea, I think. Reckless. That's it. Reckless. There's a difference between recklessness and spontaneity. And I think that even there, a commitment to one's own inner laws, is rules or credo, is really important. Actually, it feels worse, I think, to betray yourself than to betray somebody else. Because you can betray yourself without even anybody being around. And actually, if you're aware, that I think it's terrible thing to do. But only each person can only judge that for themselves, what they can live with. And having this kind of list to go down, it helps keep yourself in check. It helps you set up your mission in life in a logical fashion, which is one of the things that Pope Francis was saying during his Mass, which I think was great. That Jesus, when he was actually baptized for the second time, that he laid out the logic of his mission, which puts a really different spin, I think, on who Jesus really was, because there's so much misrepresentation about this, like, I don't know, this kind of evangelical approach to this Jesus, who really was a revolutionary. Jesus was a revolutionary, revolutionized religion at the time by taking the teachings, Jewish teachings, taking them outside of the temple and opening the teachings up for people who were not born Jewish, who were previously not allowed to enter into the temple and listen to the teachings. So he actually said, here, let me bring this out to you guys. Let's sit under a tree. We can study here. Why not? And he also was a rebel against, in the struggle against the oppression by the Romans. So there, of course, he now ends up with the establishment of his own culture after him, and the Romans after him. So yeah, needless to say, that didn't work out so well. But I think no matter what one might believe religiously speaking, you believe in God, it's one thing, then you will believe that Jesus was a manifestation of God having been born. But if you're not religious, it would be a terrible mistake to dismiss what he achieved and what he passed on, just in terms of being probably one of the greatest men to ever walk this planet. Ever. There are very, very few people who have changed the world through their life as much as Jesus. And of course, the Buddha is also one of those people, as was Muhammad. These are great teachers, great prophets, great men, great spirits, who have changed the world through their lives and through goodness. All of them. That's what's been lasting. It's the goodness, and it's those teachings that ultimately improve the world, that save humanity. It's not the dark. And even those good teachings, even the light, gets manipulated by darkness and used in the wrong way. But at the heart of everything, at the heart of all of those great religions, and at the heart of the teaching of their respective prophets, was good. And it was light and love and God. None of that, we call it that, creation, the universe, cosmos. None of which is evil. Evil doesn't last in the long run. good seems to have been prevailing for the last 40,000 years. Good is what remains. And good is what we find in art throughout history. Beauty and yeah, the human spirit, not the human darkness. And the only way that you can end a war is with peace. With peace. Mother Teresa said something about, and this is something that's, it's a thing that's a little tricky, but there's some truth in it. She said that she would not attend anti-war rallies, but invite me to a pro-peace rally, and I will be there right away. So, and I think that's a beautiful thing to consider is, are you anti this or are you pro that? Because if you're pro that, you can't be pro this. And yeah, works better for me anyway. I personally don't like feelings of hostility and anger and resentfulness. It's not my type of fuel. Put it that way. I never feel that great when I have those feelings. Not the best times. And there again, in the past, and now, my vows actually help me to get out of those dark places, because they're truly unpleasant. There's not even any judgment in it, it's just so fucking unpleasant. So I don't like feeling that way. And I find that I have nothing to give, really, when I feel that way. So, and I don't believe that it's a useful thing to promote it even to yourself, let alone to others. Because all you're doing is spreading the shit. Here, let me share more of my garbage. How enlightening and how enlightened. But that's all just kind of my thing, I guess. But being that it's baptism day, I felt like it was something that should be acknowledged, I guess. And it's a beautiful day. I think I'm having a great Sunday. And yeah, happy January 13th to the ether, wherever it might carry this glorious nonsense. May the world be blessed and happy and well. And yeah, that's pretty much it.